Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
It's the craziest thing. I'm having this conversation and I realize it's about 10 minutes into the conversation that they have no clue what I'm talking about. Because when I said Roth conversion, all they heard was a Roth con and stopped. And they're thinking Roth contribution. Oh, I don't qualify for that, so I don't need to listen. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. And today we're talking about Roth contributions and conversions and the differences between the two. AAA, where are you at today? You in Florida? You in Arkansas? You in Guilford? Where are you at today?
Oh, where you or I are going to show up, right? And so today, I'm in Madison, Connecticut today, and so we're doing good today, and glad to see. How about you? You look like you're like you're in your normal spot there in Denver. Yeah.
Yep. Right here in Denver. Getting ready to do a move. So excited about that, but all good. Here in Denver, right. Beautiful weather these last couple of days.
Nice. And, just to let our listening audience know, Daniel and I are a father-son team that are working together like hand in glove to be able to take care of people and to bring you some education today because people don't know. What people don't know, we're talking about, the differences between a Roth conversion and a Roth contribution. Because, there's two ways of getting money into a Roth. One is by contributing, and you have to have earned income. You have to be working to have earned income to contribute to a Roth. And the maximum you can put in for 2024 is $8,000 a year each if you're over 50 years old. And but the other way you can get money into a Roth is through a conversion. Mm-hmm. And actually, that's how you can get the bulk of money in, unless you're doing one of the other things we're going to bring up today. But, that's the thing. We want to help people in our listening audience today to understand there's a difference between Roth conversion and Roth contribution. But Roth as a whole are something that people need to be able to be aware of, because they only came about around 1998 is when the government instituted them, as opposed to 1974 for the traditional IRA. And so a lot of people have not put into Roth IRAs and have not been able to take advantage of the tax-free growth or tax-free withdrawal that Roths have to offer. So that's a huge thing that we want to bring to you today, be able to educate you so that you can understand and know what's going on.
Yeah. So some of the people listening know all about Roth conversions. They have probably done some of these. Hopefully you'll still get some new tricks and stuff on the stuff we talk about, because there's a couple pretty cool things that you can do to get money over without necessarily paying tax dollar for dollar. Yeah, right. This is something Andrew and I have been doing for a while, and our clients absolutely love it. For those of you who may not know what that is, pay attention, because we're not talking about Roth contributions. We will go into that a little bit, but you don't have to qualify to do Roth conversions. And if you heard what Andrew just said, and you're like, I got a little tiny Roth IRA because the early years of my life, I was just contributing to 401k. Roth wasn't even an option then. So I've got, $500, $1 million, $2 million in a IRA, and I've got $14,000, $20,000 in a Roth. The good news is you can start converting money over if it fits your situation. And that's kind of what we want to address today.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just thinking about, Daniel, while you were talking about that, one of our newest clients I saw yesterday, and, they have non-IRA monies, several $100,000 of non-IRA monies. They have IRA monies. And he has no Roth. She has a small Roth, like $7,000. And, so we talked about how we're going to do a contribution for 2023 of $7,500 because that was the max in 23. We're going to do a contribution for 2024 for her. So that's going to be $15,500 added to her $7,000, which is going to put it up around $22,000, $23,000. And the husband wants a play account. And so that's going to be his play account where we're going to allow him, we're going to give him access to that where he can buy and sell in there, and it will all be tax free. He won't have to worry about any kind of tax reporting, any of that stuff, and gives him a nice little account to play with while we're managing the rest of his monies to be able to ensure their retirement from that standpoint. So they were just thrilled at that. And then, with that, we're going to put in $7,500 for him for 2023 and $8,000 for him for 2024 because she is still working, so we can contribute this. And then as the years go forward, we're going to do more contributions as long as she's working, and she plans to work for a while yet because it's not taxing on her from an energy draining standpoint, her business. And so, and she may qualify for one of those things we're going to talk about in a little bit, Daniel. We'll have to look at that. But, we're going to do this as time goes on. But I said also, after you get your taxes done for 2023, we're going to come back. We're going to look at things and see how does it look for doing a Roth conversion so we can actually get more of these monies into your Roth, because that's going to help you. You're in a lower tax bracket right now, so we pay taxes now. And then as time goes on, that's going to help your required minimum distribution where you won't have to take it if you don't want to. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to add this strategy to one's investment portfolio, because there's more to investments than just making money. It's keeping money. You want to keep as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is Roth IRA contribution or conversion. And we have a paper we'd love to be able to give you today that goes along with today's show. And this is called What You Need to Know About Roth Conversions in 2024. So we'd love to put this in your hand for free, and you can have it for free by calling us at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616, or contacting us on our website, agemy.com, AGEMY.com. The 2 words, age, my spell our last name. You can contact us there or call us, and we'd be glad to put this in your hand, because people don't know what people don't know. So, we need to educate people so they can make smart decisions.
So, AAA, you and I believe in Roth. We believe people should try to get money depending on their situation as much as possible. And it can be painful, especially for high wage earners, to see you're not getting that deduction. And so, quick overview for people who are not understanding the difference between a traditional 401k, IRA, and a Roth 401k or IRA is: one, you get a tax break. So I like to just use a round number of $100,000. If you are making $100,000 and you are putting, let's just say $20,000 into your 401k, traditional 401k, it shows up like you made $80,000 on your tax return. So that's a nice deal, because it dropped you into a lower tax bracket.
Right.
At least the highest portion of your money. If you do a Roth 401k and you put $20,000 into it, it shows up on your tax return that you made $100,000. So that top portion of the money you earned is taxed at a higher rate, and it cost you. Why would you ever do the Roth in that case then? Well, because it grows tax-free inside the investment vehicle. And I was actually having a conversation with somebody the other day who thought the money just sits there. So it's the same deal. But you want to put it into something that will get you some growth. And you say, well, how do you know it can get you some growth? Well, for people in or close to retirement, you invest in things that pay you. So it's going to grow because it's paying you, right?
Right.
So the growth inside the Roth, it's growing. Anything you earn is growing, and you will never pay tax on that money again. Not state tax, not federal tax. You do not pay tax on that money. Okay?
Under current law.
Under current law, yes. And I shouldn't say never, because if you take it out and spend it, they're going to find a way to tax you. But it doesn't. You don't pay tax on it coming out of the account, and it can help you in magical ways that people don't think about, what we call third and fourth order consequences, where it actually makes your Social Security less taxable. It does a lot of other things that people don't think about. And that when your CPA might say, I don't know if it makes sense, they're not calculating it into the full equation. With the traditional, it's nice you got that tax break. But when you take the money out, you will pay taxes. So let's say that over time, that traditional turns into $1 million. You have $1 million, and it's beautiful to see you have this $1 million account. But at current tax law, 40 to 50% of that actually belongs to the government, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah. Right.
Whereas if that was in the Roth, you paid taxes on that money. So that $1 million is your $1 million.
Right. Right. And the thing is, you're paying in the traditional IRA, 401k, whatever, you're paying tax on the crop. With a Roth, you're paying tax on the seed before it multiplies, before it compounds, before it does other stuff. So you're paying, ideally, right, you're paying less tax dollars on that. And then, we're going to talk about what taxes and how people are paying lesser taxes today than they will in the future, especially if they're married and all those kinds of things. So we're going to be, so you want to stay tuned. We're going to have to take a break here, and we got a lot of good stuff coming. But Daniel, that's a great, to start off with. What's the difference between a traditional IRA, 401k, whatever it may be, versus a Roth IRA, 401k? So one, you get the tax break on the way in on the traditional IRA, 401k. On the Roth, you get the tax break on the way out. So, it's great to have the diversification there. Most people have put most of their money away in pre-tax monies. So anyway, that's why we're having this conversation, because, we can't go back and, do anything about the past. All we can do, this is the first day of the rest of your life. So that's where we need to be looking ahead and determining, well, what are we going to do going forward regarding Roth IRAs. So that's what today's show is about. Roth IRA contribution or conversion. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Daniel Agemy. We're glad to be able to be back with you. This father-son team wants to help you know what you don't know so that you can make smart decisions about that. And we have a book that we'd love to put in your hand that will help you with this, which is called Richest Man in Babylon. It's a very old classic from 1926, almost 100 years old is when it was put together. But this goes back even farther than that. The wisdom in this book goes far back to Babylon and to scrolls that they found in the 20s and so forth that make a lot of sense on how to put money away, save money, and how to be a good steward of your money so that you can make it do what you want it to do. We love to put that book in your hand for free for the next 5 first-time callers at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. Call now for your free copy of The Richest Man in Babylon, and we'll be right back after this.
Important financial question. Are you feeling confident that you have enough money saved to enjoy a stress-free retirement?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
That's where Retirement Income Source's investment advisory arm comes in. We exist to help you invest your money smartly.
I'm struggling to accept my retirement without a steady paycheck. So can you help me invest into a profitable revenue plan?
Absolutely. We have top advisors nationwide who have a fiduciary obligation to you, helping you generate retirement income.
You're locked on to Financial Strategy with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
Triple A, my fiance was looking for a new car. So she did all the due diligence and she decided she wants a plug-in hybrid. Right? So she can drive to the grocery store, not use any gas. The engine doesn't have to come on, but she doesn't have to worry about fully electric if she's going to be able to charge it or anything like that.
Right.
So she's doing all the due diligence and she really likes the BMW X3. And it's discontinued plug-in hybrid because people want the X5. People want the bigger one. So you can buy a brand new X5, but not a brand new X3. So she's looking and she sees one at the Kia dealer. Or I'm sorry, it was the Hyundai dealer. Okay. The Hyundai dealer. So we go down and we look at the cars and they're trying to sell us a brand new Hyundai. So we're like, okay, well, maybe it's great. We heard a lot of good things about Hyundais lately. And she goes over and she looks at it and she goes, no, that's not for me. Right?
Right.
we're all different. We're all unique. We all like specific things and don't like specific things. That's why if you go out on the road, you see so many different types of cars. Some of you think are really ugly and some you love, but somebody else thinks the ones you love are ugly and vice versa. I'm Daniel Agemy.
And I'm Andrew Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is Roth IRA, contribution or conversion. And we're because people don't know what people don't know. And a lot of times people don't understand that there's a difference between a contribution to a Roth and a conversion of a Roth. And so, Daniel, you're talking about how we're all have our own views, are all specific to ourselves, right? And we all dress differently, right? And we all drive different cars, and we all do different things, similar but different, right? And we're all individuals, and so that way, in the same way, somebody's retirement portfolio needs to be individualized to them. So it's not like everybody should have 100% Roth necessarily, and everybody should have 100% traditional IRA necessarily, right? It's not an all or nothing situation. Typically, it's a balance. It's a diversification of tax registration IRAs versus Roth IRAs, or tax-free, whatever it might be, as well as investments, as well as strategies.
Exactly. And they change. So sometimes when you see some of these large financial firms and they have these models that they put 50-year-olds in, 20-year-olds in, 80-year-olds in, it's like, really? Like things change. Individuals are unique. If you live in California, a sedan might be perfect for you. But if you live in Colorado, you might want an SUV because you want to be able to drive in, right? So it totally changes, and things change. Like I had a brother who had a truck, right? He had a big truck and it made sense. But then when he moved to the city and he didn't really use the truck and it was expensive for gas and insurance and everything like that, he got rid of the truck, right?
Right.
Because its situation changed. So why we're bringing that up is because we're talking about Roths. You and I both think that they serve a wonderful purpose, but they're not right for everyone.
Right. And a Roth conversion is not right for everyone, right? Because
exactly.
There's some people who are single, they have no kids, they're in a low tax bracket. There's no need to convert to a Roth necessarily because, it's not going to benefit them and it's not going to benefit the next generation. It may if you're married and you have kids, well, a Roth conversion may make a lot more sense than somebody who's not married and doesn't have kids and dependent upon the money. So there's a lot of parameters.
A lot of parameters. And that's what we want to bring out. All these strategies we're talking about, they need to be tailored to the individual needs, the individual's investments, goals, right? And where they are, their phase of life.
Right.
We have helped business owners take 300,000 plus and put it into retirement accounts and not pay taxes on that. 300,000 plus to get into there. So that's the kind of the opposite of a Roth conversion. But at that phase of life, it made sense because they were making a ton of money. And here's 300,000 that they didn't want to pay tax on right now. But you put it in there, and then the Roth strategy becomes a strategy you might use later on to get it out, right? Yeah. But you don't have a $300,000 plus lump sum right there that has to be taxable in that tax year. So we go both ways, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's excellent because, that's what I have, to talk about a little bit later on in the show is, how that all works, right? But the big thing about this whole thing is don't try this at home. Get some help. In our listening audience, don't try this at home. We're going to give you how it works and specifics. But the thing is that there's so many innuendos and different aspects, intricacies about this thing that you'll want to be very careful. We're going to give you some high level stuff so that you can make smart decisions, but you need a CFO. In our opinion, you need a CFO. You need somebody that's going to be able to help you implement that and make sure that nothing falls through the cracks and that kind of thing. So please, pay attention as we go with this. But you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew Daniel Agemy because people don't know what people don't know. And we're trying to educate people and educate as many people as we can. We educate thousands of people a year, be able to help them to make smart decisions. Today's show is Roth IRA, contributions or conversion. And we have a paper that we'd love to give you that goes along with today's show that will be able to help you understand a little bit more. It's called simply What You Need to Know About Roth Conversions in 2024. So ask for it by name, Roth Conversions. And call us 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616, or contact us on the web at agemy.com to be able to get your free copy, or you have some questions about things, let us know what they are. We can answer them on the air, whatever case may be from that. So, let's move on. We got a lot to cover here, Danielle, so we need to, get going here. I mean, not that we haven't been, right? But there's just a lot about this. So, why would somebody want to do a conversion? Well, the big thing is tax savings. That's why Roth IRAs were basically converted for the public, was to give them tax savings.
Why would someone want to do one? Because look at the national debt. That's why someone would want to do one.
Okay.
Right. When we are adding $1 trillion every quarter or every few months, that should be setting off alarms in your mind that taxes will probably need to go up in the future. Right.
Right. And with that, what else goes up? Inflation goes up, Purchasing power goes down, and prices go up. And Roth IRAs was one of the reasons why we suggest them to people, because it allows people to get a leg up and many times a 30% bump up in their spending power, because you take $1,000 out of an IRA and maybe you end up with $700. You take $1,000 out of a Roth and you end up, how much you have? You have $1,000. So that can go, a lot farther than $700, obviously, right? 30% farther. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to have that ability. And then, the other, there's several things that what happens. So first of all, it's the tax aspect of a Roth, because you pay taxes now, and the idea is that taxes may be lower now. Now, if you're married, well, number one, taxes are lower now than what they're scheduled to be in 2026. They're going to go up to what they were in 2018, and 2026 is what they're currently scheduled to be. So taxes are cheaper now than they will be later. So why wouldn't you pay pay lesser tax? It's discounted. It's on sale. The other thing is, if you're married, taxes are on sale, because when one of you passes away, the survivor is going to be in a higher tax bracket. You're going to go from married filing jointly to single, and it's a higher rate. So the more you can get converted over now is going to put the survivor in a better situation from that standpoint. And that's not even to mention kids and whatnot, because, we're mostly concerned about the people who made this money. And yeah, if they want to pass it on to their kids, that's good. If they don't, that's fine too. But what will happen for them? So taxes are a big reason. Then when you're looking at that, you have the aspect of the Roth conversions. Or excuse me, you have RMDs, because RMDs are going to come into play. So if somebody's got, if somebody has, I talked to somebody the other day, a couple, she has a large pension, he has an excellent pension, and they both have Social Security. The two of them are netting well over $200,000 a year in pensions and Social Security, not counting their IRA savings or retirement savings. They're not 73 years old yet. And they came in and they said, well, we're not 73, but we want to do some strategies, some planning towards 73. So be in better shape when we are 73. And that's smart. I can't tell you how many times people come in and say, or I see people I do some education, whatever. And they say, oh, Andrew, I'll come see you when I retire, or I come see you when I'm 73, whatever. And it's no, you got to do this thinking ahead of time to put you in the situation, in better situation for later. Right, Daniel? Absolutely.
And that 5 or so years, 10 years before the retirement is super vital, because the thing, if you can have the money in some of these income strategies at least 5 years in advance, the compounding that can happen is incredible to get you to the spot where you retire, the income number, the amount, the paycheck, the retirement paycheck you can collect is massively bigger than if you just retire and try to get that check. And some people might say, well, I'm going to stay growthy until I do that. But like, look what's happened over the last 2-3 years. You're basically flat, right? You're up a little bit. So if you had done that over that period of time where we're like in this amazing bull, right? People are just talking about how great markets have done over the past 15 years. And like the last 2-3 years, it's kind of just like, what did you do? Whereas if it was in that kind of income compounding strategy, now you're ready to retire and your income is much larger number than if you didn't switch. So not only for the planning side, because I know that's not exactly what you were talking about. You were talking about planning for RMDs, planning for income. But just so people who are about 5 years out for retirement, it's really important to start switching strategies 5 to 10 years ahead of time, because it adds a lot more robustness and a lot more certainty to your retirement.
That's right.
Than if you just retire and try to, stop working and change your retirement assets to a retirement strategy. You're leaving too much up to chance, in my opinion.
Right. They need to change from an accumulation perspective and strategy into more of a distribution strategy before you get to retirement and put you in better shape. And the same thing holds true for RMDs, Daniel. To do it 5 or 10 years before RMD is going to put you in a better spot too. I've worked with many people who did it, 10 years ahead of time. They started RMD strategies. So, that helps a lot and helps you pay lesser tax from that standpoint. So RMDs and taxation on RMDs is the big deal. Especially in a case like this couple that I'm saying that has well over $200,000 net, they don't need their RMD. So if they don't have to take their RMD, they'll be in much better shape. That they can just let the money grow and prosper for their children and whatnot. But that's the key, is making sure that for the individual, you as an individual, that these things are done properly and fit. So, well, I'm enjoying today's show, and time's going by fast. It's time for us to take another break. Before we go to break, I'd like to offer you the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. This is a great, easy read book that gives you perspective for you. Pass it on to your kids, your grandkids, whatever the case may be, to be able to help people to understand how to be a better steward of your money and how to get more bang for your buck. You can have that for free for the next 5 first-time callers at 800-725-7616. 800-725-7616. Call for your free copy now.
Time for some tough questions for these financial advisors. What makes Retirement Income Source different from other financial?
Our extensive experience generating investment income quickly so you can have financial peace of mind, navigate your retirement smoothly, and have more time to spend with family and doing the things you love.
We gotta talk to these guys. We're done here.
This is Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
John and Sally came in because they needed some money for, they're going on a big vacation. They're taking the family. They needed $60,000 to go on this cruise and vacation that they were taking their kids and their grandkids on. And hey, Andrew, we got this $1 million IRA. We need to take out $60,000, to be able to go on this trip with us. Would you please, arrange this for us so that we can have that money put in our checking account? I said, John and Sally, do you take out, you need $60,000. We're going to have to take out like $90,000 or $100,000 to have you end up with $60,000 after tax. Why don't we take it out of your Roth IRA? Because we can take $60,000 out of your Roth IRA, and then it's $60,000. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about Roth IRA contributions or conversions. And AAA, there is a difference. It might sound a little similar at the beginning there, but there is a big difference between a Roth IRA contribution and a conversion.
Indeed,
so
there is.
What are some of those pros and cons, I guess, Why would someone take the 60 grand out of the Roth IRA? Because then it's not going to be compounding any longer in there tax-free compared to taking it out and paying the taxes.
Right. But, the scenario I just went through in that introduction was I said, you looking at maybe a 30 tax rate between federal and 25% and, state tax. Right. But the thing that could also happen is it could throw you into the next tax bracket. So it could actually be higher than that if you took it out of your IRA. And then it could also increase what you're paying for your Medicare and throw you into IRMA brackets for that, which could, it's not a tax, it's a premium, it's a premium for your Medicare insurance, but it's the 65-year-old tax, I call it. And, so you could be paying a lot of dollars. So in a case like that, yeah, it's not compounding or anything, but why are you having this money? You have this money for your retirement so that you can enjoy retirement, right? And you want to pay the tax man as little as possible. Money goes into the pre-tax IRA little by little. And so it should come out little by little, not in lump sums. And when we're doing a Roth conversion, we might do a Roth conversion in a lump sum. Why? So we can take it out in a lump sum if we need to. Now, there's other things out there. The disadvantage of taking money out of a Roth IRA, Daniel, right, is that now you don't have the money working for you anymore, and you can't put it back in. As we have what we call rich man's Roths or Roth lookalikes on steroids, where you can take the money out, pay no taxes on it, put it back in, and it's there for another time, which is pretty cool. And we use the IRA to fund that and do some different things with that, on a basis, or RMDs to fund that. But, the key point that I was trying to bring out was flexibility, because you have the flexibility to take this money out and it doesn't affect your taxes. Right. And sometimes you need that option.
And in that scenario, to get the $60,000, it could actually, with all those other kind of second order consequences, it could end up costing you 50%, 40 or 50. You're in the 25% bracket. Normally, it could end up costing you 40, 50% when you add up all the other unexpected things to get that 60,000. So that's where you really do need that personal CFO, right? To help with that, because they've seen it before. You might not have. And then you could maybe even continue to move money over in the 25 little by little, right? Right. In the 25. So you are able to get money into there in 25% bracket instead of taking it out for this vacation and paying the 40% tax bracket, for example. With the other things, there's more involved than just the federal tax bracket.
And you're exactly right, Daniel. And there's more involved than percentages, because percentages can fool us. Let's look at the dollars, right? And you have to take out 100,000 to end up with 50 or 60,000. Well, you said, why wouldn't you leave it in compound? Well, to compound, to make up for that, you have to do 100% to get that money back. And so, that is crazy, right? And if you can pay, 25 or 30,000, to do the conversion, instead of paying 45, 50,000 to take the money out, how about those numbers, huh? Those are some huge things. So that's what we're talking about.
Food for thought. Yeah,
exactly. So, that's why this is important to take a look at. And again, we're talking about today, Roth IRA contributions or conversions. Contributions or conversions, because why we keep emphasizing that is because if you just joined us is because we're sitting in meetings with people, we're talking about conversions, and all they heard was the con, and they say, I'm not able to do that. I don't have an earned income. I can't do a contribution, and that's we're not talking about contributions. We're talking about conversions, right? And so I'm saying it this way to you folks because I want this to stick in your heads. I'm trying to do some education here. You can't tell I got a little bit of educator in me. And, so from that standpoint, because, people are impressed, impression without expression leads to depression. So I'm trying to impress you, but you have to do the expression so that you're not depressed by this. But the point being here is you're listening to Financial Strategies with Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is Roth IRA contributions or conversions. And today we've got a paper for you to go along with today's show that we think you're going to be able to use to help you understand a little bit further, because we talked about required minimum distribution planning. And this thing is called Understanding Required Minimum Distributions. This paper, that brochure that we put together. So just ask for it by name, RMDs, Required Minimum Distribution paper, by calling 800-725-7616. 800-725-7616 for your free copy of the paper on RMDs, so that you can understand how RMDs work and be prepared, put some thoughts together for what you're going to do to be able to strategize for how to deal with those things. Because you need to really do it 5 or 10 years before you're 73 years old. So, or 75, depending which time frame you fit in. So anyway, Daniel, let's move forward into this, let's talk about how to convert, right? Because sometimes people, we're always talking about this esoteric stuff, right? That's important, but, it's all philosophical, right? So let's get down into some of the nitty gritty of how this actually works, right? When we do Roth conversion analyses for people, right? We find this is kind of part of what we do, except for the implementation, unless they want us to implement it for it. But this is what we do. So, the first thing, and I want to emphasize to you and our listening audience, listen, don't try this at home. Please don't try this at home without help. I mean, I had a client once that, I was talking to her about doing Roth conversion. And I was just giving her the high level stuff with thinking that she's going to come back to me and we were going to make that happen. Well, she went off and did it on her own. And then she had all these tax ramifications that she hadn't expected, because she went into different tax brackets and all kinds of other things. And sometimes people think, I need to do Roth conversion, I want slump of sum. No, that's not necessarily true. As a matter of fact, that's not usually the case. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. That's called conversion laddering. But the first thing to do is to determine how much to convert. How much to convert. And when you're determining how much to convert, there's a lot of things that you have to do to figure out how much to convert. Sometimes it's a no-brainer, because it's a $7,000 IRA that we converted, and you got a $100,000 Roth IRA, you got a $7,000 traditional IRA. That's all you have, let's say, or whatever, and all the rest of the stuff's in your 401k or whatever. And so it's a no-brainer. Take the $7,000, just convert it, pay the taxes, put it in there, no brainer. But if you have no Roth IRAs and you have $1 million IRA, now we got a different situation, right, Daniel?
Exactly. And it really depends on what you have going on, what other income you have going on. That's what you talked about, that laddering. Usually it makes sense to do chunks, a chunk. You call it bumping the bracket, right? Where you have a certain amount of room before you get up to the next tax bracket. We don't have time to get into how the tax code works, but it's not a flat rate like a lot of people think. It's tiered. So this amount of money, you don't pay anything. This amount of money, right? You pay 10%, and it goes up. So keeping you from going into the next tax bracket, but still getting it over. That's smart, especially when you're talking about that other scenario you laid out where someone needs $60,000. To get the 60, it might cost them $40,000. Right. But we've been doing it in the lower tax bracket for 5 years already. And now you have the money that you got over, and it's been growing. So you could do that by taking and putting in your bank account, and you won't have to pay tax on it because you won't have any growth, and you already paid tax on it. The problem is you didn't get any growth. Who knows what you could have earned in that 5 years in the Roth IRA, right? So you might have got 20% on that over that. You might have got 30, you might have got 50. Who knows what you earned in that period of time? But the cool part is all the growth comes out tax-free as well. Right.
And the other thing is, we don't know if it's 5 years or 7 years or 10 years or 15 years that you're going to need it. Right. So why would you put that in the bank and be a poor steward of it from that? But you hit the nail on the head, the taxation. We have to determine the taxation. Right. And there's two, you mentioned the brackets and bumping the bracket. I call it bumping the bracket because it's where you come up to the bracket, to the next bracket. And some people have, tens of thousands of dollars within their bracket without going to the next bracket. And some people with real estate, they have depreciation, so they're paying no taxes. So, I've heard of people that could convert $30,000 a year without paying any tax. So now it's truly a tax-free investment because they put the money in pre-tax and they're converting it without tax. So it's truly tax-free, which is a really cool thing, right? And there's two kinds of brackets you have to be aware of. One is the regular income tax bracket, and then the other is the IRMA tax bracket. The tax bracket that they consider how much premium you're going to pay for your Medicare. Because if you go over different brackets as far as income goes 2 years before you're 65, well, you could be pushed into a new bracket for IRMA and you pay more. And you could be paying sometimes I think Medicare's basic premium, regular premium for Part B is $175 per person roughly. And depending on what bracket you could take that up to close to $500 a month for Medicare for one person. If there's a couple, now you're paying $1,000 a month for Medicare instead of $350 because you went into the wrong bracket for IRMA. So there's two kinds of brackets, and that's why we say, don't try this at home. Don't try. And if you go to your CPA or your tax person, they're bean counters, and they're going to look at it, and they might say things like, oh, you're never going to make back your money. Well, it's not necessarily about making back your money. It's about how much tax you pay. It's not about how much you make on your money. It's about how much you get to keep. And that's what we're talking about here, folks. So you have to have some common sense when you're doing this stuff. So don't try this at home. But I'm having a good time today, Daniel. How about you? It's time to take another break already. And we got a book that we like to give you before we take a break. And it's called Richest Man in Babylon, taken from some scrolls found in Babylon from thousands of years ago. Truly this stuff in this book is really, biblically based wisdom, but it's not anything to do with the Bible, but it comes from the Bible. And it's how to be able to invest properly, how to save properly. It's good for all ages, whether you're young, middle age or retired. But we'd love to put this easy read book in your hand for the next 5 first-time callers at 800-725-7616. 800-725-7616 for your free copy of The Richest Man in Babylon. Call now.
Important financial questions. Are you feeling confident that you have enough money saved to enjoy a stress-free retirement?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
That's where Retirement Income Source's investment advisory arm comes in. We exist to help you invest your money smartly.
I'm struggling to accept my retirement without a steady paycheck. So can you help me invest into a profitable revenue plan?
Absolutely. We have top advisors nationwide who have a fiduciary obligation to you, helping you generate retirement income.
You're locked on to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
We're not infallible. We make mistakes. Sometimes we make mistakes. Not very often, but sometimes we make mistakes, right? Because we're human. Stuff happens. My brother-in-law is a client of ours, and we did a Roth conversion for my brother-in-law, and he ended up paying more tax than we had planned. And, I compensated him for that. But as it turned out, we like to underpromise and overdeliver. So we were able to buy the right things at the right time when we're talking about some bonds that guarantee him income, that where he has made at least double of what he paid in taxes on growth. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today we're talking about Roth contributions or Roth conversions. And it's two different things, two different strategies that people can utilize to get money into their tax-free bucket. AAA, we like taking advantage of mispriced securities. We like buying mispriced securities. We like taking advantage of them. And one of the ways we take advantage of these situations is through Roth conversions. Right? Now, I've heard of a lot of people trying to convert S&P 500 when it's down from IRA to Roth. And it's a good strategy too, but you don't know for certain when that's going to come back, if that's going to come back, how long that's going to come back. The S&P's been pretty good. But when we look through history, markets are pretty good until they're not, right? And so I'm not saying that the S&P's not, but like there's been plenty of times in history, the US market has had 15 years, 20 years of flat. So one thing that we like to do is we like to take a corporate bond that's trading under par. So let's say it's trading at $800. We know they're going to buy back in 4 years for $1,000. So you can convert that over, and that's like taking 80 cents and moving it from your IRA into your Roth IRA, paying 80 cents on a dollar. And in 4 years, it turns into the dollar. So you got one. So when a CPA says you don't know if you'll ever make your money back, there is an example, depending what tax bracket it is, where you just made 20%, but that's not counting the dividends that you're making tax-free in there. That's just the appreciation, and it's mathematical that you're going to get that back, right? So we like taking these mispriced securities where we're mathematically certain to get the money back, the 20 cents in that scenario, but then you collect all the dividends. And somebody says, well, I don't want to wait 4 years for that. Well, if rates turn around, you'll make it back in a year or 6 months. And his scenario was 6 months, right? Yeah. And the scenario, the story you're talking about was 6 months where these things went above par as opposed to being below par. So that is one really neat trick that probably a lot of people listening haven't tried with these Roth conversions, where you can take mispriced securities, in these cases corporate bonds that are trading at a discount to par, and it's mathematically certain to come back to par other than default. And it's a beautiful thing, getting money over cheaper prices.
Daniel, not so loud. You're giving away our trade secrets, right? Wall Street won't tell people this stuff, and you're telling people all this stuff. That's why we say, that's why we say don't try this at home, because they're not going to get this kind of education. They're not going to get this kind of implementation at home, right? And these kinds of things. And then we have that other client who was in a high tax bracket, who did a Roth conversion, and she was, her mother at least was crying that she was paying so much taxes. But no, I saw her mother the other day. I said, "Hey, guess what? She made double what she paid in taxes," and she was just elated at that, right? And that's what we can do when you're using a true income specialist who's a true fiduciary. Some good things happen for you, truly. And so, when we're talking about this Roth conversion versus a Roth contribution, the thing to do is, what we're looking at is putting together a strategy for your Roth conversion, right? And one of the things is a ladder, like doing it a little bit over time. Some people want to do it all at once because there's money left in their 401k, and they want to pull it out of their 401k, put it in an IRA, but instead of putting it in the IRA, maybe they want to put it into Roth, right? So maybe we do it all at once, depending on what the size of that is. But then there's the maybe you do $20,000, $30,000 every year over the years, right? Where you're bumping the bracket, you're just bumping the bracket and not having to pay IRMA taxes, or not having to be pushing in another tax bracket, all kinds of beautiful things. So the strategy, how to convert is determining the amount to convert. The second thing is determining the taxation on that. The third thing is figuring out a strategy for how you're going to do that. The fourth thing is when to start. Well, the sooner the better. And what we're talking about is, 5 to 10 years is ideal before retirement, 5 to 10 years before RMD age. Sometimes what we do with people who are in high tax brackets is we let them continue putting into their 401k to get the tax break, because they're in a 30 to 40% tax bracket between state and federal. And then once they retire, now they're paying, maybe they're in a lower tax bracket. So now we convert. So we save them some money at that point. And especially while they're still married, it's a great time, because taxes are lower while you're married than when one of you passes away. So, starting sooner rather than later is, important part to that whole mix. Well, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. Today's topic is Roth IRA contribution or conversion. We have a paper to go along with that, which is called RMD distributions, required minimum distributions, understanding them so that you can be able to see how that plays into the thing. Get your free copy of that paper by calling us at 800-725-7616 because you're a radio listener of Financial Strategies with Daniel Agemy. Well, we're talking about how to convert, and we determine how the conversion amount, the taxation, the strategy that you're going to use, when to start. Obviously, the sooner the better. 5 years ago would have been probably good for some of us, but today is the first day of the rest of your life. So let's get going today, right? The next thing is to implement the conversion, make it happen, right? Now, all of us are so busy and we're all doing the things that are important to us. And we may not have time to do the conversion and implement that ourselves. And that's where a good chief financial officer, a good CFO comes into play, because a CFO, for your personal CFO, can help you make this happen without you doing it. That's a great thing. Yesterday I talked with some clients about doing this stuff, and they said, okay, let's do it. I said, it's going to take a few weeks for us to make that happen, and we'll make that happen. They're like, lovely. And they're going to walk out. The next time I see them, they're going to walk in and it's all going to be done, and they won't have to blink an eye, maybe sign a couple papers or whatnot, but that's the worst of it. So it's implementing is important, and who are you going to get to help you implement that? Is it worth your time to implement that? Do you know how to implement that? Are you going to get all the nooks and crannies, all the idiosyncrasies, all the things taken care of? Well, the next thing is settle for the tax obligation, right? And you have to pay the taxes. So how are you going to pay the taxes? And that's a big question, right? It's really nice to pay the taxes out. If you have non-IRA money, like in a savings account that's not doing anything, that's a great place to pay the taxes from. If you have RMDs, it's a great place to use your RMD, required minimum distribution, to pay the taxes. You can't convert your RMD, but you can use it to pay your taxes, which is kind of like converting it. So that's a beautiful thing. I like, if there's 30 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand that we're converting, I like to convert that whole amount. I don't like to pay the taxes out of that amount. I think that hurts and that's painful in a lot of ways. But how are you going to pay the taxes and pay them? Sometimes
I agree with you. That's usually the only time it makes a lot of sense to use the IRA money to pay the taxes, because it's like, why even do it if you're going to take part of your IRA and give it to the government?
Right.
It can make sense, but it usually makes sense when you got money sitting in the bank.
Right.
Use the money just sitting there rotting to pay the taxes and get all the money into the Roth, and you're getting more. But that is one scenario a lot of people don't think of, where you have to take money out anyway. So just send that money to the government and send the rest into the Roth. So obviously all this is dependent on your situation, but I just wanted to highlight that makes a lot of sense for people who are already in that phase to look at.
Well, that's one of the things
CFO about it.
Yeah, when people come in with non-qualified or non-IRA money, and it's a lot, that's one of the first things I think, how, that it's essentially converting that to tax-free money by using that to pay the taxes. So, it's kind of a no-brainer if you have that kind of money. The problem comes in if all you have is IRA money. That's where it's a more difficult. But not everybody is that way. But the other factor that comes into play here is the aspect, when we're talking about settling, taking care of the taxes and paying the taxes on it. And we talked about if you use your Roth, if you use the RMD to pay the taxes, well, the other question comes into play: when do you pay them? Right? It's like you could pay them in 2024 for that Roth conversion, or you can wait until you can do the version this year and pay them in 2025, either at tax time or your Roth or your RMD. And if you take your RMD in January, use that to pay the taxes, take it out, pay the taxes then. So there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat here. And a true fiduciary, a true income specialist, a true tax expert is going to be able to help you in our listening audience be able to do what you do. That's why properly and save you a bunch of taxes. And that's why I say, don't try this at home. And, we just got, we're almost out of time. I just want to go over that. What's a true fiduciary? People hear the fiduciary word all the time. Fiduciary is somebody that has to legally do what's in your best interest. Well, there's people out there that say, yeah, I'm a fiduciary, but they won't put it in writing. Well, if they won't put it in writing, they're not a true fiduciary, because being put in writing is what gives feet to to the document, and what can you can hold their feet to the fire. If you can't hold their feet to the fire, it's just their word against you. That's no big deal. Then there's people out there who say, yeah, I'm a fiduciary, but they're fiduciary for the big name, the big brand that's above their door. Because if you work for a company that has stockholders, then you're first and foremost a fiduciary for the stockholders, secondarily for the account holders. And if you wanted to be second place, if you're listening to this show and you're divorced and you wanted to be second place, well, you'd still be married if you wanted to be second place, right? That's why typically most people get divorced, because they're second place and they don't want to be second place. So, that's the idea. And then a true fiduciary is somebody that will do what is in your best interest and put it in writing, because they work for you rather than stockholders or anybody else. And that is a key thing. And a true income specialist is somebody that specializes in income. They're not dealing with people in their 20s and 30s and 40s so much. They're dealing with people in and close to retirement to be able to help them have what they need so that they don't outlive their money. Wow. We're out of time. And join us for our next show, or listen to some of the past broadcasts on anywhere you listen to podcasts, Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic has been Roth IRA contributions or conversions. And we love to put a book in your hand as we finish up here. It's called Richest Man in Babylon. Gives you some great advice, easy read for you and your loved ones. If you want to know more about finances, first place to start. But Richest Man in Babylon for the next 5 first-time callers to 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. This father and son team, Andrew and Daniel Agemy, wish you well. Not just wishing you well, what we're wanting to guarantee you and promise you, if you want your retirement to be stress-free, invest for the I more than the G.